Definitely some fast moving up the grid countries, and they've already had a history of motorsports, so it just shows you how they've continued to grow over time their motorsports industry. And when I talk about that, it's the production, distribution, and consumption. So these are both countries in which there's increasingly more opportunities. Why is that? Well, some of the same things we talked about before. In high income, wealthy countries, high GDP per capita, both of these countries, a high amount of motor vehicle ownership. So a lot of people have that connection to an automobile because they drive a car. Further, you've got strong connections to the British, and so the British legacy. What have we talked about the British? They're number 2, I guess, in terms of the global motorsport grid, just behind the United States. So you have that strong connection to the British. Also, you've got here in both these countries a growing population, in which increasingly the population is growing, especially in Australia, but also the wealth is growing. So more people have extra income, disposable income, and that's something that we talked about beforehand. As as the economic situation, a country or the world or region, as it improves, that increases the chances of motorsport, benefiting from that. When it goes down, when we have a depression or a recession, it definitely impacts racing. So we can definitely see the role of money. Also, what's happening is Australia and to a lesser extent New Zealand has emerged as kind of a core area of the Asian Pacific region. So as Asia and the Pacific countries, but especially Asia, as it's grown, as China, Southeast Asia, a lot of these countries that are trying to have a motorsport industry, as they grow, as they increase wealth, well, really a lot of the core companies, a lot of the headquarters for a lot of the companies with a lot of power and influence in the Asia-Pacific region are based in Australia. And so once again, that's only going to be good news for motorsport in Australia going forward. In terms of the type of racing you find in both these countries, quite a variety. So I'm going to talk about this later, but this is really Australia is really the only place other than the United States where you see a large dirt oval track racing scene. But here you definitely have those national level series. You've got the supercars, you've got touring cars, sports car series, you've got various Formula car national level series, and so you kind of have that ladder series, junior Formula. So within, of course, off-road racing, you got the Outback, you got all that wide open space, a lot of off-road racing as well. So it's got a diverse kind of portfolio of motorsports in Australia, but also in New Zealand. Both of them, rally's big, especially New Zealand, big in both countries. But one of the things I wanted to emphasize is the fact that you have this dirt oval presence. So what we got there is you got sprint cars. There in Australia, they prefer them with the wings on. And kind of more what you find in the Midwest, in Iowa, where they like to have their sprint car racing with the wings. They also have midgets. They call them speed cars. Those are without the wings. So speed cars are very, very popular there. Also, you've got flat track motorcycle racing, a version of it. So you've got a very thriving grassroots, regional level, kind of it's almost a system as far as the Australian motorsport. Motorcycle racing is also quite popular here. So you have the super bikes, so a national level as well, but also MotoGP has around here. And so you've had some very famous MotoGP riders who've also helped to grow the sport. So that also gets to another thing, is the role of individuals, the role of racing heroes. And so you've got definitely that going back to Sir Jack Brabham, but this is a long legacy of Australians who've been successful at the elite level, but also at the national level. And so just inspiring more interest in racing as well. Of course, New Zealand's had some drivers going global in IndyCar. Scott Dixon's from New Zealand. We also have Brendan Hartley, which is another famous driver. But there's this steady progression in both of these countries in their motorsport industry. And so what that means is that there's more opportunities. It's a two-way street. Another thing that's of interest here is these countries, this kind of gets into geography, but their winter is our summer and vice versa. So this might create a situation going forward. We're going to see more kind of off-season racing happening in Australia and New Zealand. There's just kind of this thirst that we have for racing in the United States in the November, December, January months. Well, guess what they're doing in Australia during that time? They're racing. So that's something kind of as globalization, as more people can view and watch racing as it's showed and streamed online. There no longer is that kind of that isolation where, wow, we have no idea what's going on down under. They got cool accents, but we don't know what they're doing. Now we have a little bit more of awareness. And supercars, the national level series there has become more popular in the United States just because of more eyeballs, more awareness with the advancements in media.